Record Retention Guidelines. It's myOrganized.life live, March 20th, 2018. Well,
hello.
howdy doody.
Howdy doody.
It's the first day of spring.
Now, we always thought that spring fell
someone,
on March 21st.
I hope that someone didn't tell us that it was the wrong day. I heard it on the radio today. They said, it's something equinox or whatever they call it, right? First day of spring. I always thought it was the 21st.
Whoever in control of the master calendar tells us that it's today.
Well, that would not be us. No. But you are here on Facebook at 2 p.m. Central Time for myOrganized.life live. I am John Hunt.
And I'm Leanne Thompson.
And this is the show where we give you organizing tips, advice, and get your feedback with questions and comments.
Right.
And in the comments today, in addition to telling us where you are watching from, which we're going to ask you every day to do, because we want to shout out to you.
Every single day.
Even if you're watching on the replay. You know, we're gonna say hi to you because we want to respond and we want to hear from you and acknowledge you. But today we're going to talk about long-term storage of records or records retention.
That sounds so intimidating.
It is.
I'm kind of scared.
Yes, retention. Otherwise, the FBI is going to be on your doorstep and use one of those bombs to blow open your door just to get your income tax return.
One of those big bars, just bam.
Yeah, SWAT team. Well, maybe it won't be that bad, but that would be kind of...
We're going to give them some tips on maybe what to keep, what to throw.
Yeah.
And we're not experts. This is just what we're going off
of. We're not accountants and lawyers, and we're going to give that disclaimer probably more than once today. But
we'll
actually,
just play one on TV.
Yes, we play one on TV on Facebook. But that's a good point.
Thank you.
We are actually going to refer you to an article that's on Smead.com, which is called Guidelines. I think it's called 6 Tips for Record Retention.
Yep.
If you go to Smead.com and just go up to the search bar at the top and just type record retention, it'll come up. It's an article.
Amongst a couple others, I think. But
this is one of the most asked questions about, people are so, especially in business, so nervous about what should I keep and what should I toss. And so we're going to talk about what to keep and what to toss today.
Business and some home stuff, mainly business.
It applies to both, but mainly business today because if you think about it, a lot of businesses do what they, and I think this ties in with the first day of spring because a lot of times they say when the season changes, you mark it on your calendar to do your yearly file purge, or maybe you're doing it 4 times a year, but a lot of people, the spring, spring cleaning,
right?
And we're going to get into that mode probably a little bit next week, aren't we?
So.
Yeah. So anyway, that yearly purge when, you're going into the deep files. And not necessarily, the things that are on your desktop or even in your active files on in your drawer, but some of those more long-term things. That's what we're going to talk about today. So anyway, it can be exhausting. It can be one of those things where you're concerned about whether you're in compliance or not, and maybe your company has a manual that tells you how to do this, and so we're just going to give some tips to kind of give you some food for thought, but again, check with your accountant, your lawyers for anything that's very technical like that. We don't want you to get into trouble.
No.
All right, so let's start with guideline number 1, which is some items should never be thrown out.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so things like, like important tax returns and payment checks that you maybe need to keep longer than the typical time. Again, I don't know which ones those are because We've heard
10 years,
10 years, 7 years, 6 years. I think it's safe to say at least 6 or 7 for every return. But there may be some tax returns, like maybe when you started your business, or maybe when you made some major purchases that you need to go back and refer to.
Right,
so,
not just for legal purposes, but just for your own purposes. You might need to go back and reference those. And
definitely.
Be ashamed to have them thrown away.
Yeah. So other things like important correspondence, maybe when you got a letter from the president, you don't want to throw that away.
You have both of yours tucked away, right?
I do, yeah. We have legal documents. Of course, you're not going to throw contracts or things like that away. I guess unless the contract's over, but I think you always want to, you never know when things can pop back up. So check with your lawyer on that one. Now, things like vital records, birth certificates, this is maybe more for home, visas, passports,
adoption papers.
Yeah, things like that, marriage certificates. You're not going to throw that stuff. You're going to keep that for as long as you are going to be around. Now, that kind of brings up, we do have a product called the Life Document Organizer Kit, which helps you organize some of those key life documents. So that's something you may want to check out. But that again is more personal versus say business. Retirement plan, pension records. These things are things you're probably not going to want to throw out. Investment trade confirmations indicated that you've bought or sold a certain thing. That's kind of like a contract.
Yeah, right.
And audit reports. So you do your books every year and you have a CPA come in and audit them. You're going to keep those as well, because those are kind of the proof that your return is good, or your books are good. And then things like trust documents, maybe for end of life and things like that. You're not going to just, because after 5 years, you may hold on to those for 20 years.
Right.
So anyway, that's the first guideline. Some items should never be thrown out.
Okay.
How about one for you?
Well, this is kind of like everyday paperwork.
Okay.
And they say keep it for no more than 3 years. And a lot of the stuff you won't even need for 1 year.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of, if you need to reference it, you have it. It talks about monthly financial statements, credit card statements, utility records. I'm not sure who's going to need to look at their electric bill.
From 1970.
Like my grandpa, he has...
If you're watching, Gramps, I don't know.
He has a file drawer, and all of his bills, I swear from the 70s, are rubber banded together.
Yeah.
And just, I don't know why he keeps them, but...
Well, you might be able to sell them on eBay or something.
I guess.
It might be antiques pretty soon.
So he probably can toss those, and anything you need now, it can be found online. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing to think about is the electronic age. But, we've talked to many of our professional organizers. You never know if the electronic system is going to crash out on you.
Right.
So sometimes it's good to have a paper backup of some of those
probably
things.
not 40 years back, but maybe a couple months.
Yeah, and I think you're again talking about everyday paper. So these are not contracts. These are not things that are like maybe a bill that comes in.
If you threw it away, you could probably get it somehow by calling a number or something.
Yeah. Okay.
Medical bills in case of insurance disputes.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point. And sometimes those are probably easier to keep in paper. I mean, for me, if I go online to your doctor online or whatever, and they have the EOBs and everything, that can get pretty confusing. So I think if you just have maybe 1 or 2 paper ones from like this month and last month, it's kind of nice just to grab it and look at it versus logging in and trying to search and figure out what claim went with what, and it just might be a little bit easier.
I find it very interesting that people say, "Oh, everything's going digital," except, and especially in the medical field where they were, they were encouraged by the previous administration to go electronic. I don't know. I still get about this many papers for a pulled tooth or something like that. So there's still a lot of paper. We like that because we're in the paper business.
Of course.
So we are very, very supportive of that kind of stuff too. So
so basically, keep that stuff for 3 years if you want, a little bit shorter. But after 3 years, it's probably safe to toss it.
Right. Now the next point is businesses need what's like a record of a permanent file, like it's a permanent file record.
Okay.
Might be different than just boxes stored in in a storage area, but there's some things that you want to permanently store in an area that is like the vital documents. And these are things like your annual financial statements, corporate documents like your charter and your articles of incorporation, which you create at the beginning of your company. Now, you may not ever need to refer to them again. You may or may not, but you're not going to throw those away. So you want those in some kind of permanent file, maybe even in like a fireproof file of some sort. Licenses, patents, and trademarks, that kind of documentation. We're not just storing that away to, that's a kind of an important file.
Right.
And, things where there's maybe documents associated with a bigger purchase, like a building or big equipment. You're going to want to keep some of that stuff around as well.
Okay, good one.
All right, what do you got?
The papers that don't fit into specific categories, such as your car records, credit card receipts, pay stubs, all of those stuff.
Pay stubs. Now, that's an interesting one.
Basically,
do you keep your pay stubs, by the way?
Yeah.
You do?
I do.
Yeah. I know, by the end of the year, you got like 26 of them.
Right. So
and then if you keep 2 years, that file gets kind of big.
Right. But you're supposed to keep that stuff until it's, worked out with your W-2, and then you can kind of get rid of them. Same with car records. Yeah. Keep that as long as you own your car.
Well, I think too, people, if they're buying your used car, want to see, did you maintain it?
Right. It's nice to have all those records.
It's not legal, but it's going to help you sell the car.
Right.
Yeah.
Any big purchases, your washer and dryer, you might want to keep that paperwork on file in case, in 2 years it goes out and you have a warranty or something with it. Credit card receipts. You don't have to keep these forever, but until that statement on your credit card is over and done, paid for, you can get rid of those then.
Right.
Let's see. Same with ATM and deposit slips. Make sure the transfer is through the bank until you get rid of those.
I think if you're watching right now, either live or on the replay, and you have some kind of unique document, go ahead and put it in the comments, and we'll acknowledge whether or not that's something you should keep, or at least give you our opinion.
Right.
Unless it's something really weird and unique. But I'm going to go over to Facebook right now and take a look and see what's happening. And
also keep records of your home improvements. That's nice for when you go to sell your home. You know, if you added a kitchen or redid your kitchen, you want to kind of have the record so the next buyer knows, oh, this is what they did and when, and this is how much it costs. It's just helpful to have all that stuff on record.
Right. All right. And then so the last tip is keep your tax records for 6 years.
Okay.
All right.
Even though we thought it was 7 or 10.
That's right. Now, now it might be 7 including the current year, but the IRS supposedly can go back 6 years. Again, check with your accountant on that. But you're going to want things like bank records, and you're going to want personnel and payroll records, and purchase and sale records, travel and entertainment records, vendor invoices, accident claims, things like that. So keep those tax records, and usually it's probably good to keep those in a separate file. Like we had someone on one of the podcasts who did the 0 to 10 or 0 to 9. So they kept 10 years worth just because the system worked well. So 2018, when it comes to 2028, you throw away 18 and you put in 28.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So, wow. Okay. Well, there you have it, folks.
But we didn't talk about the one thing. When we're storing these, make sure to store them properly in archival folders that aren't gonna, go away, and
that's true.
File boxes, you can use hanging folders and file boxes to keep in long-term storage.
Yeah. Maybe we can get onto that with our filing solutions segment on Thursday.
What day is that? Thursdays. Okay.
Maybe that would be a good idea.
All right.
I know you're still planning that, but
yes, I am.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
Well, that covers it, huh?
Yeah.
There's some record retention guidelines. Not too overwhelming, was it?
No, I don't think so.
Great. Well, tomorrow is Wednesday.
Podcast
Wednesday.
It's Lisa Woodruff is back, part 2 of the Sunday Basket.
Yeah, and she's going to talk about not long-term record retention, but what do you do with that pile of stuff you have right now?
That accumulated maybe throughout the week.
Yeah, and you throw it in a basket, and on Sunday night she's got this magical plan. We're going to talk about that tomorrow and how you actually do that.
Right.
Thursday, organizing solution, and Friday
is Blogger Roundup.
There you go. And before you know it, the week is over.
That's right.
Wow.
Yep.
Goes by fast. Well, again, if you have any questions, comments, leave them here, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube. We do this show Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Central, 3 Eastern, and noon Pacific, except when we're not working.
Right.
Like coming up a week from Friday.
They can also find it now on myOrganized.life.
Yeah, myOrganized.life /blog. Gosh, I can't even say that.
It's under the blog category.
myOrganized.life. That's enough just to get people. It's not .com. It's
not
myOrganized.
It's myOrganized.life. Right on the back wall there.
Right there. myOrganized.life.
And there's a new blog tab.
Yeah, so if you put a little slash and then do blog, you'll see the replays. Now, today's show, if you're watching live, won't be up there for a few hours, maybe even tomorrow morning, but as fast as I can get it done.
You always like to put up the funny thumbnails of me
by myself. Well, that's because there's a lot of things you don't see behind the scenes, where she likes to make lots of faces. So.
Yes.
All right, well, that is going to wrap it up for today. We'll see you tomorrow, 2 p.m. Central for Podcast Wednesday, right here on myOrganized.life live.